Welcome to The Explainer. Have you ever stopped to wonder how we actually learn a new language? I mean, really learn it so it sticks. Well, it turns out it's not magic, there's an architecture to it. Today, we're going to pop the hood on a modern textbook and see how language skills are engineered one lesson at a time.
It sounds so simple, doesn't it? Bigger than this, easier than that. But really think about it for a second. The idea of comparison is totally abstract. You can't just hand it to someone. To teach it, you need a really carefully designed blueprint. So for this explainer, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to reverse engineer Unit 4 from the Let's Go textbook series. The goal here is to pull back the curtain and see the hidden structure of how language education actually works. Okay, let's get into it. Here's our game plan. We'll start with the overall blueprint, then look at the vocabulary foundation, the grammar that holds it all together, and the cool tricks they use to make it all stick. Then we'll see how it all comes together. Every good lesson has a super clear goal. And for this unit, it's not just about learning a bunch of words. It's about teaching students how to use language to express their own opinions and compare things in their own world, like school subjects and seasons. So where does the construction start? Well, before you can build sentences, you need the bricks. And in language learning, that means starting with the core vocabulary. This is the absolute foundation. The lesson kicks off with essential school subjects. Now, this is smart because these are concepts students already get. They know what history is, they just need the new English label for it. Think of these words as individual Lego bricks. Each one, like science, is a solid, concrete piece that students can grab and use to build way more complicated things later on. And by introducing words one by one like this, the lesson makes sure each new term is really understood before asking students to plug it into a bigger, more complex grammar structure. Now, this is where you can really see the strategy. The vocabulary isn't just a random list. It's grouped into these neat, logical categories. This is all designed to help students process and remember everything so much easier. It's like pre-sorting the building materials for the next big step. All right, so now that we have our vocabulary, our collection of bricks, let's see how the lesson introduces the grammar. This is the mortar that's going to connect those bricks into strong, meaningful sentences. The heart of this unit is the comparative adjective, the words we use to compare two things. And as you can see, students learn the basic rules. For short words, add er. If a word ends in y, change it to IER. It's a pretty simple and elegant system. And this is where the magic happens. The lesson immediately takes that abstract grammar rule and puts it into a real conversational context. A student isn't just memorizing easier, they're learning how to express a real opinion. This is the huge leap from just knowing a rule to actually communicating an idea. And the lesson doesn't just stop with the easy stuff. This chart shows how it gives students the whole system, including those tricky irregular forms like good, better, best. And this is so critical because it gives them a complete toolkit for making comparisons out in the real world. So, here's the big question. How do you get all these new rules and words to actually stick in someone's brain? Well, you can't just repeat them over and over. The lesson uses some really powerful techniques to make the material memorable, like songs and chants. This is one of my favorite parts. By setting a phrase like, "History is easier than math" to a simple, catchy tune, the whole grammatical pattern becomes almost automatic. It just bypasses rote memorization and gets locked into long-term memory. It's a total brain hack. But it's not just about melody. Beyond the song, the lesson also gets down to the nitty-gritty, sharpening students' ears to the specific sounds of English. This is absolutely fundamental for clear pronunciation and spelling later on. I mean, look how specific this gets. They use phonics chants to contrast really subtle but important end sounds, like that sharp k in duck, versus the more nasal nk in skunk. This is like a workout for your ears, building precision for both speaking and spelling. And they make it fun. This playful little sentence isn't just a list of words. It's a silly story that reinforces those target sounds in a funny and, more importantly, a super memorable way. You always remember the stuff that makes you smile, right? Okay, so we've seen how the lesson introduces new words and grammar and then makes it stick. Now it's time for the final stage of construction, putting it all together in a real reading passage. So this reading passage about ducks and skunks, it's no accident. It has been carefully engineered to reuse the exact vocabulary and grammar from the unit, like the ick and ink sounds, and of course, those comparative adjectives. It's basically a final exam disguised as a fun little story. Look at this sentence right here. Students see the grammar they've been practicing, safer than. But now it's not just an exercise. It's being used to explain a real-world idea in a little story. This is that awesome moment where learning finally clicks over into true understanding. So, after deconstructing this whole unit, what's the big takeaway? What's the secret in the blueprint? Well, it's an incredibly clear 4-step method that builds language skill layer by layer. You start with a strong vocabulary foundation, you add a solid grammar framework, you reinforce it all with memorable songs and sounds, and then finally, you apply everything in a meaningful context. So what this deconstruction really shows us is that effective language learning is a true act of construction. By carefully layering dialogue, rhythm, and stories, this method doesn't just teach rules. It builds a strong, flexible structure for real-world communication. And it makes you wonder, what other complex skills could be built in this exact same way?